When I think about point-and-shoot cameras, I usually think about something that's brick-shaped with a little zoom lens. Samsung's WB2200F turns that thinking upside down, or at least sideways. Hi, I'm Larry Becker. Samsung's WB2200F is an interesting take on point-and-shoot cameras. It strikes me as something for people who want more than their smartphone can deliver, but who aren't expecting to get immersed in the art of photography or large prints. The camera can do some impressive optical zooming, and it looks cool. It's got a 16 megapixel BSI CMOS sensor, but the sensor is physically the size of a typical point-and-shoot sensor at 1/2.3 inches. The WB2200F is more substantial than most point-and-shoots because of the size and the 60x optical zoom reach of the built-in zoom lens. And if you haven't already noticed, when you look straight at the camera, it looks more square than most point-and-shoots. That's because it has a vertical grip so that you can comfortably shoot in landscape or portrait mode. Samsung has even duplicated the zoom, shutter button, and command dials so that you can easily control the camera and shoot in either orientation. And like a high-end pro rig with a vertical grip, there's a lock switch for the vertical controls so that you don't accidentally shoot or zoom when you're using the primary controls. Something else I was happily surprised to find on a camera at this price point is an electronic viewfinder. Now, there's not an automatic sensor that's going to switch from the LCD view to the EVF when you put the camera to your eye. You do need to press a button to make that switch. And the EVF image is a little bit small, but it's certainly much better than trying to shoot with an LCD in bright sunshine. That LCD is a nice one though. It's a 3-inch 460,000 dot screen. Samsung calls this an HVGA screen in their documentation. Let's talk a little bit about that 60x optical zoom lens. First of all, I was impressed how wide the wide end of the zoom is. Samsung says the wide angle is equivalent to a 20mm lens, and the full 60x zoom is equal to a 1200mm lens. Beyond that, there's a built-in digital zoom which can't be turned off, but I wish it could because digital zoomed images are a bit degraded. I just watch the on-screen guide and I always stop before the zoom gets into that digital zone. Intelligent zoom is an enhanced digital zoom, and I flip that on so that if I do slip into the digital zoom range, I have a better chance of getting something that's more usable. The WB2200F has optical image stabilization, which is critical when you zoom to 1200 millimeters. The thing is, even with OIS, I got quite a few blurry images when I zoomed a lot. Now, after some experimenting, I found out that the camera is pretty weak at focusing indoors at full zoom unless the environment is really bright. Outside during the day, there's no problem. The wide-angle end of the zoom lens focuses much more quickly and accurately even in that lower light, and when you flip on macro mode, it does a decent job grabbing enlargements. As you would expect, there are quite a few consumer features, and besides that super zoom and the vertical grip, Wi-Fi and NFC have to be near the top of the list. Near-field communication requires an NFC-compatible device like an Android smartphone, and of course, Wi-Fi works with the free Samsung apps for Android or iOS. I tested things out with my iPhone and I transferred some files as well as I used the remote shutter capability. I really like a remote shutter, but if your goal is to quickly upload your shots to social media, this camera's Wi-Fi setup is optimized for that. Setup was much easier than with some competing camera makers, and pairing is quick. When shooting remotely, you can only snap images, you can't start video capture. Remote controls include a 2 or a 10-second timer, a zoom, a flash control, and you can pick the file size, with the largest being 10 megapixels for the remote capture capability. The remote control zoom response was kind of sluggish compared to the on-camera controls, but it did work. The image preview was nice and it was very responsive, and the file transfer was relatively quick. But if you plan to shoot and transfer lots of files, you're going to want to step down from the 10 megapixel file size to 3 megapixels. There are quite a few automatic functions and shooting modes which are listed on the B&H site and of course on the Samsung website. So I want to let you in on a few more things that you won't see by just reading the spec sheet. The power button needs to be held down for about a second. Now, I'm the kind of shooter who wants to flip on a camera while I'm raising it into shooting position and snap a quick shot, so I did miss some of those quick shots because I didn't press the power button long enough. Besides automated shooting modes, the WB2200F offers access to the 4 shooting modes pros are used to using in their cameras: programmed auto, shutter priority, aperture priority, and full manual mode. Unfortunately, the aperture range isn't very wide. Samsung says the widest aperture settings go from f2.8 to approximately f5.6, depending on how much you zoom. But the narrowest aperture I could get was f8. In spite of access to pro shooting modes, I doubt most users would stray from automatic modes with this camera. The ISO range goes from 100 to 6400, so low light performance is about average for a modern point-and-shoot. The colors are a little bit flat, and since it only captures JPEG images, tweaking your colors and minimizing noise and sharpening in post-processing is going to be a little bit limited. The video is just fine for casual movie capture, and it can get HD video that's 1080p at 30 frames a second. If you're the kind of person who likes shooting snapshots, especially with a smartphone because of how you display them or upload your images to social media on the fly, and you want a more professional looking camera with more features and a powerful zoom, the Samsung WB2200F might be just what you're looking for. For B&H and Kelby One, I'm Larry Becker. Thanks for watching.
Whether you're a hobbyist or a professional, B&H has the answers to your questions. Experience a world of technology at our New York City Superstore. Connect with us online or give us a call. Our staff of experts is happy to help.
Scott Kelby here, and welcome to this quick tour of our online training. We have hundreds of online classes for you, covering everything from lighting to landscape photography. From portrait photography to sports, we have classes on wedding, automotive photography, shooting, food, fashion, travel, you name it. The most incredible part of this is the price. You get all of this for just $199 a year, or you can pay monthly for just $24.95. 24-hour a day, 7-day a week access from anywhere in the world. I invite you to join with us today and start learning right now.